Welcome to Live Chat.
Hi, friends.
Oh, that's great.
Host Eric here. Let's talk about famous people. And I'm at home. And I've got here today with me my mother, Jane. And I thought it would be fun to do a live stream. Mom in the house. I know that this is not the best time of day to do a live stream. I'm going to probably get less activity.
Can I open some windows?
Sure.
I mean, like, is it too bright to do that? No, not on me, but I'm sure maybe other people.
So, anyway, I'm hopeful that even though it's the daytime, I'll be able to get a few people participating with me here on this live stream.
Oh, you're already on it.
Yeah, it's so easy now with the webcam live stream. I don't have to set up the encoder and stuff. That it makes me want to live stream. I do just like the attention. That's true. But I mean, what I'm saying is the reason I didn't take advantage of it before was because live streaming was too difficult. I like the attention, but I also don't like the hassle.
Why is it hassle?
Well, it used to be. It used to be a hassle because you had to run through the encoder. So I had to use OBS to do a live stream. Of course, the difference being I would then live stream my desktop or whatever I was looking at on the computer, live stream my whole screen rather than just the webcam. So in that sense, live streaming the old way had an advantage. But
so is Jane your guest for?
Jane is my guest today on Talking with Famous People live stream. Let's include her in the picture here and see.
Oh, you should have seen it yesterday because I think everybody was afraid we were going to have burning things.
Burning things, huh?
Yeah, it was, and the people would stop and say, "Hey, listen, talk. Look over there," you know. But they didn't, and.
So this is my mom, Jane. Say hi to the internet, Jane.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could smile the way I do normally, but yes, thank you. It's amazing what a good thing that is because you have your own place.
Yeah, that is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to look at the chat here, and we'll see if anybody has any questions regarding cognitive functions, type, and love or family relationships, which is the topic today. If questions about something else, that's fine too.
I think this has to be. I think that's trying to figure which ones are hers, and they look like they're the ones that are busy. And then I have one here. And that's all I like.
I guess in the absence of any questions, I'll start by sort of talking about my own family stuff or what I think about type and function in family. So being here with my mom today is representative of a shift in my life focus somewhat in recent months to helping out more with my parents, and it's been a very interesting and involving experience. In other words, there's a lot of emotion that goes along with
I hope nobody had I hope they aren't.
With interacting with one's parents as they age and as you age, and dealing as well with the impact on cognition that said aging have brought upon one of my parents. So in that sense, it's an emotional experience for me to just sort of go over there. I go over there a few times a week. Thursdays I get my mom and bring her back here usually, give my dad a full day. And it's when you're younger, you spend almost 90% of your time you've ever spent with your parents, you spend with the time you're 18 years old. So the other 10% of the time is spread out over the whole rest of your life, which is an interesting statistic. And I think here, questions I see. Oh, okay, that's good. Hello, mate. Dan Klein says, I know I asked you this question on a previous live stream, but I haven't got any answers. I see The SE polar may be very confusing whenever I'm told to do an entirely new task without instructions. Like, for example, if someone tells me to fix a physically broken phone with step-by-step procedure, it would just go over my head.
Mm.
That sounds like poor extroverted thinking, or, well, maybe not. See, Kimberly would probably respond well to very step-by-step instructions. Oh, without a step-by-step procedure, it would just go over your head. Right. Well, that's a poor TE thing. It's representative of low TE, 4th or 7th. Because what you're saying is, unless it's been rendered entirely into communicative chunks that are instructive of specific behaviors, then you're not able to sort of fill in the gaps with your own TE. Like, and I'm not very good with filling in the gaps with TE either. So if somebody were to say to me, well, here's how you fix a phone. First, you're going to take off the outer case, then you're going to, you have to unscrew something to put it there, and then, that's going to be hard for anybody to fix a phone like that without step-by-step instructions. It's the sort of task that requires step-by-step instructions. But I guess there's some other things that I could conceive of where I'd be more able to fill in the gaps, probably. It depends somewhat on your personal experience if you're TE on the backside, because you're relying on SI a lot to be a replacement or workaround for unconscious TE. So anyway, back to the conversation about parents and family and such. My parents still live in the house in which I was raised and grew up, and I've had a regular, continual relationship with them for my entire life, obviously, but there have been stretches of my adulthood where I was less frequent in communicating with them, and stretches where more frequent. So.
And they were okay with that. Just gave them the opportunity to travel.
They were fine with it. I mean, yeah, my parents have always been they have their own thing going on, and they're not needing a lot of Eric time necessarily. I think they probably got their fill of Eric when Eric was still living at home. So, and they kicked me out basically, or told me, they didn't really kick me out. They said, you have to start paying rent, not because we want you to pay rent really, but because we want you to move out. And if you're gonna pay rent here, you might as well pay rent on your own place someplace. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. So I did move out, and it was a sad day. I love living at home. So I still love living at home. I just live in a different home with a different mom now. I got Kimberly as my mom. So she's my other mom. I got 2 moms. Oh. It's like I was raised by a lesbian intergenerational couple. Anywho, one thing about cognitive functions is if you're an ENTP, you're likely to make jokes like that, which are, some people would say, not considerate of the importance of the relationships, if potentially trigger something or something like that. But with polar FI, I don't know. It's like also, what's his name? Aaron is an ENTP, Jewel's boyfriend, who I must say did really excellent, helpful things for my computer when he's here over New Year's. And I have a much more successful setup and operation now because of what he did with the display on the screen, and also to give me some advice about deleting some files and stuff like that. Very helpful. Anyway, so family things. There's a lot of SI in my family. My dad's got introverted sensing as his tool function. My mom's got it as her dominant function. And so a lot of times this is my house, Dee Brown. I brought one to my house today. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
You are really good at that. And it's smart. because so many people never do anything like that, and that's good.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. This is
The funniest thing out there.
this is the thing. My childhood was filled with that sort of stuff, right? That sort of just random affirmation about about whatever. You're so good. You're so smart and funny. It's like I was told stuff like that all the time. But at the same time, I wasn't validated when I failed. Like if I made a bad joke, I wasn't validated. I had to make good jokes. So there's a certain amount of implicit pressure to perform well. But it's interesting to see as cognition degenerates because of these various processes associated with aging, and not necessarily for everybody, but in this instance, I see the retention of FE mannerisms, tool function habits, and such that are not linked really to anything that has content. There's no substance to it. It's just the form of it, or very little substance. However, I also see a lot of times that it's a word thing where my mom will be referencing very specific things and have intended meaning to convey, but not have very good facility with the words. So, right, there you got the chat. Those people are talking to us in the chat.
Yeah.
So D Brown says, "Hi, Mama host Eric. Her name's Jane. She's talking to you."
Yeah.
And he thinks, or she, I think D Brown's a guy maybe, says that looks like your mother has a beautiful home, but this is not your home actually.
Well, most of my friends and me and their families, we've all spent most of the time in Europe. And, the last time was just, some groups died.
They did. Why did they die?
Well, because the others were also the Germans.
The Germans. The Germans, I tell you. The Germans are always killing people.
But anyway, they were very nice and all that. They talked to all of us afterwards. But then they said, now you come over here and look over that where the boat is. You can get there because the Germans won't come there. And you can get over there and get across. I thought, what?
And then did you get to the boat?
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything? That's good. It's good to hear. So my mom did actually spend a lot of time in Europe. Before my parents had me, they met in Europe. My dad was a race car driver and an army band French horn player. He raced Mini Coopers, which is pretty cool. That's pretty neat. My mom was a teacher at the army base.
Wow.
That's you, Mom.
Those are good.
That was good. That was good stuff you did.
Oh, yeah.
And you met David, and you guys got married in Europe. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And your mom, Gladys, she came over to watch your wedding, but she didn't like David. She thought you were making a mistake.
I didn't. He's wonderful. I like him.
Yeah, I know. I like him too. He's a nice guy. Okay, so this is the. I'm hoping other people will ask more questions. I typically, I like these live streams because there's a steady pattern of questions. I can just answer them, and it's very it's NETI comfort food. It's just I'm being led along a path of random idea changes at random times, exploring them exactly to the length that I feel like, and then proceeding forward to the next one. I'm an INFJ, and I suspect my mother is ESXP. How do you suggest we grow our relationship with one another?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we had no problems, and The only thing is, one time she told us, because there were so many people, he said, now listen, this is the time you lie down and go to sleep. All of us.
All of you.
There were about 7 or 8 of us.
All of you lie down and go to sleep.
Yeah, but we had plenty of guys.
Plenty of guys. Good. All right. So ESTP or ESFP? You don't know which one? Okay. So I would say, first of all, that it makes a huge difference which one it is as to how you go about doing that. It's like, if it's ESFP, well, let's start with ESTP, where I have much more clear feeling.
Yeah.
If you're an ESTP, that would be your dual if you're an INFJ, and you should be able to get along with them just fine. I would say that that's not necessarily the case, because
Well, they were
because
really good. And they had.
Mom, you need to use the restroom? Before Kim gets in the bath, you need to use the restroom?
No, I
Okay.
took a bath this morning.
No, I'm not asking if you want to take a bath. Do you need to use the bath? Do you need to use the toilet?
Oh, okay. No, I don't need to.
Okay, before Kim takes the bath. Okay. So if it's an ESTP, you guys should be able to get along okay. If you don't get along right now, that's a decent sign that maybe she's an ESFP, because INFJs and ESFPs are going to run afoul of each other. For the same reason ENTPs and ISFJ, ESFPs and ENTPs get run afoul of each other, because INFJs and ENTPs are super metaphysical. They each of them go with their functions: metaphysical, 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 physical on the conscious stack. Whereas ESFP goes physical, 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 metaphysical. And their metaphysical function is NI, and it's shitty. It's not good NI at all. They're really seeking an INFJ to provide all the NI for them. So they're very non-metaphysical. They don't care about meanings. And, if you encounter somebody who's sort of like just lies all the time about stuff, but doesn't seem to get that it's not working, is your SFP. Because the reason is they hate the world of meanings.
Oh, yeah. And we had been someplace in a regular place outside of that. We weren't in Europe then. But anyway, when we got back over there, they immediately put us in.
Glad to hear that.
And they were good, and they knew what they were doing. And they also told us immediately that we've got the kids and the people that had not been helped at all. And they're going to be doing things like that. And we all talked to the teachers, and we taught all the kids too. Oh.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do back then. My mom one time told me about a job she had in one of her first jobs. And it was, I don't know, probably early 60s. And her job was she was working with the PE teacher in PE class. And her job was to sit in the girls' locker room. And as the girls came out of the shower, she would have to rub her hand along their bodies to see if they were wet enough to qualify as having taken a shower.
Oh, my goodness.
Best
I don't know.
job ever.
They told us, go ahead and teach people here that in there. But that out, how long it is out there. But at the end of this month, you get to go there, and you'll be in there and we did. But if you get all you want and you get in the water or something, and
Okay.
because they'll be coming.
So whenever I tell my mom something, especially something about how I feel, it seems to go in one ear and out the other ear just to do a certain function. Well, if she's really not paying attention or caring about how you feel at all, I guess it depends what you mean by expressing how you feel. If you're expressing how you feel unrelated to her, then that's one issue. If you're expressing how you feel related to her, that's another issue. So if you're saying, Mom, I want to tell you that I'm sad right now because of this thing unrelated to you, and I want you to commiserate with me. And she's not very good at commiserating with you, then that's one problem. If, on the other hand, you're talking about about your feelings regarding how she's behaving, like, I don't feel you treated me fairly there or something like that, that's a totally different matter. So you have to clarify which one you're talking about. When did I start studying MBTI? Well, I first encountered it when I was in my early 30s, and I was immediately taken by the notion that I was an ENTP because I read the type descriptions and it just seemed like so exactly me. And so, but it didn't last very long, my interest in it, because there wasn't anything on the internet back then about cognitive functions. It wasn't until I started the channel and was doing philosophy videos, and then I re-encountered MBTI on the internet, but this time with cognitive functions, and I made a video about it. It was more popular than my other videos, so I started making more cognitive function videos, and that's how it went. Can you give me some contemporary examples of INTPs? It is tough to identify famous person INTPs because they'll typically be very similar to ENTPs in their public displays because they're using any as their tool function, which is when they're going to be being publicly displayed. You can identify them on YouTube because those people aren't performers. But let me think.
I've heard about that, but I've never seen it. I've heard people said that I did such and such, but I didn't, and nobody else did, but
I don't know. I can't think of famous INTPs, really.
It depends where you are.
I can't think of any of them.
Because when we ended the month, they came, they said, now listen, you're still in. And what you're going to do is exactly everything you can do. We said, yeah, we'll do that. They said, but you can't let those guys in to the water.
Don't let them in the water. What happens if you let them in the water?
Well, I don't know what happens there because they all went in the water. But then a whole bunch of Americans came. You can't do it.
Okay, so what is the nature of superego relationships? I don't know what that means.
What?
Superego. Oh, you're talking about in socionic intertype relationship? I need an example of them. I don't have the whole intertype grid memorized. I don't know what. Give me an example pair. What's the difference between TE polar and TE inferior? TE polar doesn't get the concept of thinking about how to do things from a systems logic perspective, whereas TE inferior gets it but wishes somebody else would do it for them. TE polar doesn't know how TE polar it is. TE inferior considers itself not very good at TE.
Well, what amazed me is after that, they said, okay, now they've all gone except a couple people, and you can continue getting back your life. And this one kid, he was in the water, and he had a thing big enough for 2 people. And so he came over and he said, listen, I'm not mad.
I'm glad to hear that one. Eric, if subjectivity versus objectivity is the difference between FITE and TIFE, what would you say the binary of NESI SENI is? Okay, well, it doesn't work the same way because NE is metaphysical or objective, and SI is subjective or physical. Also, SE is physical and NI is metaphysical. The reason that, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say why it's like this, but the impact of it is that everybody ends up with 3 of one kind of function and 1 of the other. So, nobody can be entirely metaphysical. You need a way to link back to the physical world as a conscious function. Nobody can be entirely physical. You need a way to link into the metaphysical world with at least one of your functions. So, so that's the thing about that. The so-called perceiving functions, extroverted intuition is a metaphysical action form. But the reason it has SI on the same axis is because extroverted intuition works off of personal associations as a default data source for its internal stuff. So, in other words, when I'm extrovertedly intuiting and I'm coming up with some oddball sounding combination of things, some disparate combination of things, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm using NE to link to some random association from my own personal life that's not exemplified as a universal, like maybe the NI part of the thing I'm saying is. And that's where, and my NE associates things randomly and then just sort of bounces off of that to change it up a little bit here or there. It's because you can't NE off of NI, because NI is knowing the singular truth of things. And so to NE successfully, you need to ignore that. You have to NE off of SI, where you know they're concrete and specific, and you build universals out of that. The other data source for NE is SE, the senses, and I use SE in doing extroverted intuition when I'm coming up with a story, let's say, and I look around and there's a red handkerchief on the door. So all of a sudden there's a red handkerchief in my story. The perfect example of using SE as the data source for NE is the end of the movie, The Usual Suspects, if you've ever seen it. Thank you, Matt Patterson. Your song for Type Police, he said, is really catchy. How did you come up with that? It's actually the second Type Police song. The first one Kimberly said wasn't good enough, so I did that one. I had the guitar part, and I had that stuff, and then I just started singing stuff over it, you know, until I wrote down. I didn't even write down the words. I just freestyled the lyrics, I think. And that was it. It was just like that. So it's like the instrumental part, I was just coming up with something that I thought sounded like a cool beat and stuff. You know, I had the guitar parts and the bass thing. I don't know. I have a lot of songs, and I actually have a lot of catchy songs. I love the fact that everybody loves the Type Police theme, but that's not that's by far not my only catchy thing I do. I try to make everything as catchy as possible.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, for example, a song that's really successful, I think, as far as catchy and people like it a lot, and I generally get also a lot of positive feedback on it, is Gerald Has a Thought. And
do you think she could call David?
Oh, well, I'm gonna take you back home after we go have lunch, which we'll do in a little while. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So this song here, I'm gonna put it in the chat. It's a very catchy song. If you like the Type Police theme song, you might very well like this as well.
Yeah, I do like all this stuff.
Thank you, Mom. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like to see things I haven't seen for a long time or I didn't know anything about. That's always good.
How can I figure out for sure if I'm ISTP or INTP? What are some examples? Well, El Sadat. I would say that there's a kind of a simple test. If you're an ISTP, you don't have any kind of extroverted intuition. If you're an ISTP, and I tell you the following thing. Once upon a time, there was a large family of 7 raccoons. And they lived in the storm drain near little Joey's house. But these were very special raccoons because they could speak. And one day, when the Girl Scouts were selling Girl Scout cookies at Joey's door, the raccoons came up to the Girl Scout and said, "Hey, can I have some Thin Mints, please?" One of the raccoons did. "My name is Molly the raccoon, and I really am into Thin Mints." And the Girl Scout says, "We're out of Thin Mints right now. Is there some other kind of cookie you'd like to have?" And then this other raccoon, named Steven, came up and he's like, "Why the hell are you always out of Thin Mints? It's the only one that anybody really wants to get anyway."
Well,
So
people want that. That's
why. And so then, El Sadat, I'm asking you to continue the story and tell me what happens. If you can do that easily enough, If you just start rolling with the story and make up shit on the fly like I just did, then you're not an ISTP. You can eliminate that possibility. Because ISTPs can't do that. ISTPs, if you ask them, how many reasons can you come up with to invade Canada right now? They'll go, get more land. And then you'll say, how many others can you come up with? And they'll go, what? It's weird. It's weird. Even when they're super smart. I took an ISTP who got a perfect score on the ACT, which very few kids do. It's like very impressive. He'll go to Harvard or Yale, something like that. He couldn't come up with anything ever. He had no ideational action to him at all. Okay, let's see what else we got here.
You know what? They make me so soft.
Do you think that cognitive functions are more obvious in someone's Enneagram type, besides the fact that your interest lies higher in the functions? I mean, Enneagram type, I think, is easier to determine. I don't know if it's more obvious just in casually observing somebody, but I find it very easy to try type somebody. You just ask them 3 basic questions. You go, okay, well, what's your response to shame? Is it help, achieve, or be distinct from, be an individualist who's rebelling, kind of, or something, or defining oneself against? So that's question number 1. And then question number 2 is, how do you deal with fear? Do you think about it and try to understand a lot? Do you build up your defenses and nest without trying to worry about what, knowing more about the thing you fear, but rather just know that you're prepared for whatever? Or do you hide your head in the sand and play the day away, fiddle while Rome burns? And that tells you 6 or 7. And then the third question is, how do you deal with anger or conflict? When somebody's, when there's a conflict, do you tend to want to assert, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, hell no, I'm not going to listen to you say that shit right now. Are you like that? That's an 8. Or are you instead like a 9, like, oh, okay, whatever you say, I don't want to have any conflict. Or, oh, it's okay then, don't worry, I'm just going to smooth things over. Okay, just give him what he wants to be. I don't want any fighting. Like that, you're a 9.
Well, people always, they told us, we had a whole thing of Japanese, not those, but Germans. And they said, you know them well because you've been working with them a long time. And I said, yes, we have, this whole group. And
then they, what?
They were good.
They were good, thank God. Okay.
I even got better because I had been in that room for a long time. And they worked hard and they did everything they wanted to do. And I really liked it. I liked them better than a lot of the others.
I'm glad. So the thing is, if you are a 1, that means you are a perfectionist and that you just basically, you try to solve the problem, and then if you can't, you withdraw. So there's a conflict here. Well, how about this solution? I'm still angry. Well, and you're not listening to me. I'm going to go away. That's 1. I'm an 8. I'm the 8 sort of type. I like to fight fire with fire. I'm the 4 sort of type. I'm an individualist. And I'm the 7 sort of type. I like to play. I'm 7 first, so that's why I'm 7, 8, 4. But yeah, I think it's easier to determine a person's strike type than it is their MBTI type or carbon function type.
Yeah. And they didn't even have the whole town or anything in trouble, no. And anyway, we can walk through and make sure it's clean and all that stuff. And we got to really liking those guys because they were scared to death.
The framework, how do you frame it? TIFE and TEFI less alternate between each other, like NESI and NISE.
I don't know.
They work from the same platform, stage, or audience. Well, look, I mean, the interactivity of the knowledge functions and the action functions is more back and forth. So it's like they help each other by taking turns, kind of.
Yeah.
But the TI and the FE, they can either work together or against each other. The same with TE or FI. So, for example, it's good TE to build a snug little coop for a chicken that doesn't take up much room and houses the chicken perfectly. That's good TE if that's your goal, right? What if your wife doesn't care about that really? She wants a fancy looking coop that is big, like the one she sees on Facebook. Well, then that's bad TE because I'm not making what she wants. I'm making what I think is best, you know? So Kim is she's either 6'8" 4 or 4'6" 8 or 8'4" 6. She's one of those. It's a difficult type.
Well, you never understand as the years go by. I imagine by the time we get way into the middle of the country, we will say.
I live in Laverne, Matt.
Yeah, I want to know, what do you have left from the war?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I live in Laverne, California. Let me answer this question here. When did I decide 74 or 73? Quite some time back now. I was looking at some stuff. It had a list of basically adjectives that for 4 and a list of the same adjectives for 3 or similar, like the list of the equivalent adjectives for 3, and on almost every single one of them, I said I'm more 4 than 3, and so I realized just because the reason I typed myself or Enneagrammed myself at 73 initially is I didn't understand it very well, and I thought, well, I do achieve a fair amount. Like at the time, I was achieving in debate coaching a fair amount. I had like in a job or something, so I thought I must be a 3, but I didn't get it. I didn't get the concept. It's not whether or not you achieve. It's how much you want to display your achievement to others. So, like I've seen a real 3, like Nick, for example, who it's important that they have a fancy car and they want to display as successful and all that kind of shit. I'm not like that at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
In fact, I have the opposite problem. I'm always
Yes,
displaying worse than I am,
Is he out here telling everyone I'm difficult?
No.
Never would
No,
I
I
say
didn't
that.
say anything.
No, me. Say I want to date an ENFJ and she's religious, but I'm not religious. Is her NI going to make her stubborn with her beliefs, or could she be open to new beliefs? Well, it would depend on her NI regarding your status as being religiously in conflict with her. So whatever her own religious beliefs are, I have religious beliefs of a sort, and have I ever tried to convert Kimberly? I don't think so. I mean, I can't even convert her from, to a different piece of toast. So it really depends on the ENFJ's NI about that. She might have some NI truth that she clings to that says, I'm the kind of Christian that doesn't convert people. And in that case, you're fine. Nice. But she might have the kind of NI truth that says,
looks like that. Because
it's important to me that everybody hears my truths.
They don't have to go just straight.
In which case,
they're huge.
They're run afoul of problems. I'm glad I dropped that thing. I started playing with it.
Yeah, these have all been.
Okay. What types are more likely learn skills that aren't innate to their native functions in order to achieve their goals, or is this just a matter of growing first fixed mindset? You don't really learn skills that aren't native to your habits, in the sense that you develop more refined autopilots. So my NI is better than it used to be, but it's not because of me trying to develop my NI at all. It's just, well, I actually said skills. Let me answer that question. because I misread that, or I read it wrong. I didn't answer the question you asked. What types are more likely to learn skills that aren't innate to their native functions? Okay, well, the link between skills and functions is an interesting one because, like, certain skills do correlate with certain functions. So, for example, freestyle rapping is going to correlate very strongly with any and nothing else. If you're good at freestyle rapping, you've got NE in the dominant or second function. That is if you're good by intuitive standards, which is to say, you're lyrically clever and effective on the fly with the words, not just with the percussive elements. Because you can be an effective rapper with just treating rapping as percussive and not as ideational at all. And in a lot of ways, it's probably better that way. But what I'm saying is, if you are effective ideationally as a freestyle rapper, then you definitely any tool or any dump. There's no other possible way you could do it. And so that's an example of a skill that correlates with the function. Now, if you tried to learn how to freestyle rap effectively, you'd be imitating it. Even if you pull it off, you'd be imitating it. It would be some sort of prep thing, unless you're an NE type. It wouldn't really be on the fly ideation. It would be something else, some practice heuristic or whatever. So in that sense, you can't really learn that skill unless you have the right stack. On the other hand, there are heuristics for all the functions. So will I ever learn to be the most socially graceful person who's the most appealing to others, the most well-liked? No, because that requires me spending a lot of attention to the person I'm talking to about them. So it's like, if I wanted to be more successful at those skills of FE, I would need to spend more time talking about, Matt Patterson, where do you live? Matt, great to see you. It is really, I'm so glad to see you. And that is a brilliant question. Let me answer it now. And Matt, again, thank you so much for being here today. And Liv, it's Liv. And Hussein Barani. I saw you last night in person, Hussein. LJ. Sweet, delectable LJ. And who else? Danny. Is that Danny Klein? Is that Danny Klein over there?
There's no way.
What are you doing, mister? What are you up to? I'm practicing my FE skills. So FE skills require me to be about other people, but I'm usually talking about ideas or myself, or I want you to listen to me, or stuff like that. I'm usually in conversations. I'm pretty.
See if I can go to the bathroom.
I'm pretty good about sharing rhetorical space, but it depends. Like when I came up on these live streams last night, I was just sort of, it's kind of like what they say about extroversion and introversion, how extroverts take energy from exchanges like this. Because the time I finished the live stream last night, I was pumped. I was like full of energy. And I went and I hung out with Hussein, and I just basically dominated the conversation and talked his ear off and stuff. So because I was in that mode already, and it just sort of rolled on. But normally I'm pretty conscious of it, and I have gotten better about being attentive to FE stuff like that. But that's one of the great things about this particular format is, I just read the questions and just keep talking. That FE was a little too outwardly moist. Danny boy, come on now, Danny. You and I go way back. Better. Let's see. Does the inferior function of a type have any relation to the strength of a person? Strengths of a person? Well, I would say it's an area of seeking. So it's an area of shortcoming, an area of self-aware shortcoming. It's an area where you're likely to be self-deprecating. I know I'm not very good at keeping my nest tidy and keeping track of all my existing resources and how I, where they are and what to do. I'm not very good at that. So, I that's an area of counter strength. But it can become an area of don't have to pay attention to it, really, if you're in the right relationship with the who has the dominant function of what your inferior is. Then where's my mom? Oh, she went back. That's right. Thought I lost you. Mommy, are you getting ready to go to lunch? Would you like to go to lunch pretty soon?
Yeah, but we can just have something real quick. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to take you back home
Okay.
later today, but I do have some errands to go
Oh.
do before we take you back home.
Oh.
Okay, so right now it's 12:30.
Oh.
And I'm going to have you back home by about 4:30. So
Okay.
later this afternoon, okay?
Well, be fine. What happened also overseas, that time they said, here's the ones from up in the front. And they were just great. That was great. Famous ones and all that. And they went, and they said, but we want to show you what happens. And you're right there, no.
What happened?
Well, it was more of the same ones from up there.
More of the same ones from up there. And what did they do?
Oh, well, they showed us all the pictures. I thought, what?
What were the pictures of?
Well, they showed the pictures of how they took bad people.
They took the bad people and
It was just, and when they left, their place was empty.
I see. Okay, well, yeah, so we'll be going to lunch here pretty soon. Mom, give me about 15 more minutes here. We'll end this live stream and then go
Which
lunch.
is easy, but I can toss it in.
Yeah, sure. We'll go sit
Yeah.
down someplace nice and pleasant. We have some nice iced tea.
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah.
Okay, so sit down here for about 15 minutes, okay?
Oh. I love how everything has little things on it.
Everything has little things on it.
Yeah, well, they
Is
have.
one of the pieces of wisdom I wanted to share with everybody today.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
Mm.
For those of you who are wondering what type you are, first remember, everything has little things on it. Okay, that's important to remember.
Huh.
When you keep that in mind, then you won't mistake something for little thing free, which would be a terrible mistake to make. Is there a certain type that's harder to figure out than others? I always have trouble with INFPs and INFJs. They're the slowest ones for me to type because INFPs will display could be this, could be that, could be the other thing because they've got a weird mix of skills, right? They're authentic, but they've got ignoring FE, so they've got good FE, which is easy to mistake for conscious FE. Then they've got good TI because it's 8th slot, which is easy to mistake for conscious TI. They've got poor TE, in some ways worse than you'd think for 4th slot, but it doesn't seem, it's hard to, you don't hear it in any of their discourse really, so it makes it hard for them to be typed. What's my mom's type? ISFJ. I was raised by my dual. Being raised by your dual if you're an HP means your mom laughed at your jokes when they were fun. That's how I think about it. And you know, my mom and I used to, when I was a little kid, all the way through my teenage years, we'd get up early in the morning and my mom would make international foods, café francais coffee, which is basically instant coffee with a lot of sugar in it. And we sit in the family room and we sip our coffee and chat, chat about whatever. And my mom and I talked all through my childhood and teenage years. Less so as I got older as an adult, but it's good to have an opportunity to give something back to my mom in that capacity because I was very well cared for and loved as a child, and not everybody is, and it's hugely significant in your long-term development, whether or not you attain something akin to optimality or not.
Okay.
Let's see here. What other questions have I missed up here? what's your mom's response to our heaven's waiting room concept? Oh, that's a good question. I do want to share with everybody Hussein and I's heaven's waiting room concept. So it is, once you die, you go to a waiting room somewhere. It's a waiting room that just gets larger as the need to, as more people die and it gets filled up, it gets larger and larger to hold them. Problem is, in this waiting room, there's no indication of what you're waiting for exactly. There's a receptionist, but all she knows is that a really long time ago, when she died, she went into, she was told that she was supposed to sit there and answer questions, but she wasn't given any answers to any questions or any other guidance. And she doesn't even remember who it was who told her. And the only difference between her and anybody else in the waiting room is she's at the desk. So now there's nothing to do in the waiting room, and there's no need to go to the bathroom because you're dead. There's no need to eat or drink liquids because you're dead. And there's no satisfaction in having sex because you're dead. And there's not really anything to talk about because everybody's just stuck in this waiting room. And they're stuck there for thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years, depending on how long they've been dead for. And really, it's a conundrum for everybody there. And as new arrivals come in, and they're like, what the hell is this? Everyone's just like, don't even ask. Don't even ask. No, it's the only topic of conversation around here. What the hell's going on? What is this place? Why are we waiting here indefinitely? What are we waiting for? How long do we have to wait? And the one person who's supposed to be able to give us information doesn't know a goddamn thing. Tomorrow is yesterday.
Yeah, is there
And
anything
forever
on that
is
you could
now.
get me out today, do you think, back home?
Yes, I'm gonna get. Yes, Mom. Listen, I picked you up
Yeah,
at 10:30.
yeah.
I should have picked you up at 10, but I got a little bit of a late start.
Well, I'm just amazed that,
But hold on, let me explain. And I'm going to take you back home at 4:30.
yeah,
So right now it is 12:30.
yeah.
All right, we still got to go to lunch. We got a couple errands to run. We're gonna come back here.
Well, we don't get anything, just a little bit.
Yes, I know, Mom.
Yeah.
We'll go someplace to eat. Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
See, and I didn't have any of the phone on me at all.
well,
So
Hussein, I've already determined that you've got a weird metric for judging humor.
Huh. Well, probably so. Well, we'll manage. And I think, because we have had 1, 2, people we know died at the work fair. They understood exactly what had to be done and what didn't.
Hussein, as an INFP, I worship romantic love, and it's the primary thing that I've always desired. Because I put it on such a high pedestal, is that my doom? Not necessarily. Look, there are people in the world who are super relationshipy, and I myself being one of them. I don't feel happy when I'm not in a relationship with my status in that regard. I'll typically be like, okay, I need to hurry up and get back in a relationship. I'm tired of not having a woman, quote unquote. So it's true for chicks even more than amongst dudes. Most chicks are into relationships. The thing is, you just got to find somebody who shares your particular understanding of it while complimenting your shit, like complimenting your skill sets. So technically, your dual's ESTJ. You don't want an ESTJ woman probably, but ISTJ might be a possibility for you because and you don't have to have so much bossiness, but you get basically the same assortment of skills. So if you don't think you want an ESTJ, get with an ISTJ, and you'll find somebody who is incredibly devoted. Like ISTJs when they're nice to you and they treat you well and stuff, or do something nice like, you know, hook you up or whatever, it's because they genuinely love you and care about you or whatever, and want you to be happy. They don't want to gain the benefit of having given you something. They want you to be happy. And the reason is because they've got third slot FI. Their hidden agenda is to love. So ultimately, I want you to be happy because that means you think positively of me. If you're happier on me, it means you like me and you're paying attention to me.
Yeah,
because I'm FE third slot, right?
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
It
Yes,
really
I agree.
is.
But if I third slot, then you actually care about the other person. That's different, right? It's like, not that I don't care about other people. It's just a different modality. FE is really all about, and that's the funny thing about how people get it so backwards. FE is the one that is self-absorbed, and FI is the one that is other focused in some capacity. But the reason it gets confused is because FI is non-universal, so it doesn't. It cares about its own a lot more than it cares about not its own. Whereas FE tries to be fair, even though it really cares about itself more than, you know. So anyway, could my mom be INFP? Looks like you were being supervised when you're around her. No, I don't feel supervised around her at all. She's definitely not INFP. She's, you know, she's in the middle stages of cognitive dissolution. So she's, you know, I tend to, I'm gentle. I'm very gentle with her, obviously. I never felt supervised by her. She was always, she was never a parent that I was scared at all of. You know, she and I sort of reached agreement about things. And if she was mad, she'd just get very upset, like cry and stuff. And I go, okay, all right, yeah. But she's definitely not INFP. I felt supervised by Hussein Barani last night. He was my supervisor. He's an INFP. I mean, I'm quite sure you're not an ISFP, Hussein. And the reason is, I've been around ISFPs, and it's a different vibe. Well, you know what? I want to think about you some more. You could be an ISFP, but I think you're INFP. Yeah, I think you're INFP. I do feel supervised by you. That's why I think you're INFP in essence rather than ISFP. I don't feel supervised by ISFPs. I feel like they're children, kind of, or that I'm a child, depending on the moment. But I either feel like they're the child or I'm the child.
Well, I will say that all that stuff you do in Europe, they're always talking and everything, and you know what they want. They want what the other one's doing and everything. They're really good at it, and they're very nice. And the Germans that I knew up there, there were 3 or 4, and they said, we've been really good. We've done everything we've done.
So should ISFP, ISTP stay away from typology and stuff like that because of polar NE? I'm an ISFP, and I feel like it's beginning to make me a bit crazy alienated. Well, ISFPs, the thing about ISFPs is it's not the polar NE that is why you would want to stay away from it. It's just the level of meaning supported by meaning without link to physicality is a lot of it, right? So, so the thing is, because cognitive focus talk a lot about ideas that link to other ideas without relating to experience directly very often, it's going to be a lot of talk that to you seems it's almost like little bits of teeny bits of programming with a lot of commercials. You go ahead and look out the door, Mom.
Yeah, because one went fast, and I thought, well, maybe they're trying to find me.
They're not trying to find you. She gets fretful in general when she's not at her house, and she's always telling me like, "We need to go back. You need to take me back," or "Where's that person?" Meaning her, my dad, or stuff like that. Anyway, it's just you're dealing with. For you, it's going to feel like a little bit of programming and a lot of commercials, and a little bit of programming and a lot of commercials. ISFP is going to feel like that way about typology. INFP is going to. It's going to have a lot of trouble settling on an identity, and also they're going to have trouble settling on an understanding of who they are that's satisfying, because they've got countervalued NI and they've got FI and SI, which are both particular understandings of the self. The most authentic understandings of the self are FI and SI. And then, they've got NE, which lets them potentiate all these possible particularist understandings of the self, and countervaluing choosing one of them, namely NI. So, let's see. What did she say about Germans? Well, I was talking about Germans killing people and stuff like that. But thanks for watching too many World War II shows.
That's a lot of calls going through there. But
she tells stories about like how she went there and then they made them all get out, and they made them have to pick up all the body parts. And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, all the body parts?
Yes, that's what you've told me before on occasion.
Yeah, once there was.
A lot of body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's, I don't know where it'll come from. She sometimes is more lucid than others. Okay, so I agree. He's saying you need to do something creative, at least make videos or something.
Oh, what did she say about Germans? Well, it depended on the person.
It did?
Yeah, but this was near the end of the whole thing.
But they all loved bratwurst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter who.
And they were very good, and they would, the minute we'd say, no, not that, this.
Okay, sounds good.
They were good.
How does inferior TI play out in an ENFJ compared to an ESFJ? ESFJs are much more receptive to TI from others. ENFJs are too busy, making sure that everybody thinks they have good TI to let anybody teach them anything.
Oh, they're smart. They really are. And they've done a lot of different things. And they sent me over one time to say, now be sure you get him, make sure that he does the stuff for the water. Because we have to keep running out of it. They can't get in there.
They can't. It's all locked down.
Yeah.
Ain't no way in, no way out.
But up there, and then the woman that was in charge of us, because we have to take all that stuff back to her.
Gertrude.
And
Gertrude was in charge of you, and you had to take all the stuff back to her.
yeah.
And locked all in there. No getting out. No getting in.
Yeah. But they were great, actually. We all had more time.
You have a lot of SI around, and that's a lot of memories to look back on. Has the way you look at value memories changed as you've grown older? It's changed as I've developed more of a pile of easily accessible SI. The key factor is YouTube, because I can. The last 5 years or so, I have documented on YouTube everything of significance in my life. Basically, all the things that happened to me.
Yeah,
it's been this channel, like that girl's channel that I policed, Abby, whatever her name is, Abby something. What was her name? Abby poops. Abby poops a lot. Cole. Oh, Abby poops a lot. Cole, they call her. Anyway,
Not for us today, Jane.
so she, like
Not
me,
for us.
has a channel where she refuses to
Eventually
do
this
one
will
thing.
come.
She just can't stick to it because she's probably almost certainly an Enneagram. She's probably an ENFP. She's in jail for being an ENFP, so let's assume she is.
Because
Um,
we can go get something real quickly.
yes,
And then
Mom,
brought me
we
by.
will. I know you want to go home.
Yeah,
and
I
we
do.
will, and I want to take you home.
Okay.
At what time though?
Well, anytime you want to
I'm
go
gonna
now.
go at 4:30.
Oh, I would prefer earlier.
We will go out to lunch. We will go get some
Well, just something.
errands. I know, Mom, just something.
Okay.
But listen, you have about 3.5 hours left of the torturous experience of spending time with your son.
Well, no. What we could do is get something to drink and then go down to my house and then you drop me off.
I will drop you off at 4:30. Okay.
No, I'd rather be more like,
It's almost 1 o'clock now.
I know.
We're gonna go get some food. Why don't we go for a walk? All right, so I gotta go now because Mom's getting a little agitated here. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. If you do, you can always double up your cheese dosage tomorrow. It's okay.